What is up, everyone? I am Jeff Lund, and this is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, where we are intolerant to weak-minded attitudes that keep people from pursuing new and exciting things in the areas of fitness, outdoors, and general lifestyle. And by we, I mean me, because there's no one else behind this. It's just me here. But I've been reading a lot about these circles of people that you surround yourself with, and you kind of have that collective group and the area of influence, the people of influence. And so the we, I think, is encapsulating that, I guess. I don't know. I just started with we, and I've gone with we, and it will still be we. So you can be part of the we by listening to this. So I'm going to talk about episode 35 here, Spring Black Bear. It's about that time of season here. It's first week of April. It's just about over, so we're getting toward that mid part where things are really starting to thaw. You have those fresh shoots of green coming out, and black bear are waking up. So I'm going to do it in a two-phase, kind of like I did with the steelhead. I'll do a spring black bear that has to do with kind of my experience, and then do a separate episode in which I talk to someone who has some other experience. That way it's not me trying to interject my experience on top of someone else's. So we'll go with my experience here. Spring black bear, it's getting that time of year. If you have the permit for Prince of Wales Island, that's kind of the most coveted. It was really popular in the early 2000s when there was someone came up and did an article for Outdoor Life magazine. And so Prince of Wales really got on the map for being a place for not only abundant black bear, but very, very large black bear. So people gravitated there, went to Prince of Wales and harvested a lot of really big bears. Still big bears around. There's some more pressure. Now the non-resident, there's a permit for those not using registered guide. That's the DL027 and the DL028. The difference there is spring versus fall bear. So if you applied for one of those last year, you have one of those, and you're not using a guide, this might be informative. If you are using a guide, then you can get the harvest ticket, so you're all good to go there. But I'm going to assume that if you happen to have been someone who did not get a guide, and you're going to do Prince of Wales yourself, or you're in the Ketchikan area and you're hunting the Unit 1. This time of year, again, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to black bear. I've shot two. What you're looking for is kind of the grassy estuary sort of areas. The fresh, the meat coming out. They're not going to be hanging out at the rivers looking for fish because the salmon aren't in the rivers yet. And so if you're able to take a boat around and you're looking at some of those grassy areas at mouths of little inlets, that's kind of the place to find them, eating mussels or eating the fresh shoots. Back in the woods a little bit, where you have kind of the boggy areas where the skunk cabbage is starting to grow, it kind of looks like a cob of corn that's protected by a very, very yellow leaf. They're looking to eat those as they're first starting to come up. So the estuary areas, the low grassy areas that are tidal. And then looking for the boggy areas just behind that in the flat lowland where the forest is pretty thick and you have the skunk cabbage starting to come up. Those are the good places to find them. The first hunt I went on, saw one on the beach. People like to caliber up whenever you're going with a big game, and so you go with a really big rifle. If you're not used to shooting it a whole lot, then the whole the twitch thing, maybe you're not used to shooting it, and so you kind of twitch and you take a bad shot because you want to shoot it with the highest caliber possible. But and that was me first too. I thought that I'm going to need a deer gun, which is my 270, and then I'll need something much bigger for a bigger bear. But really, it's come down to placement. And so you kind of have to take ownership of the marksmanship. And again, I'm not a marksman, but that's one of the things that I really want to improve on going forward and constantly improve. You never get to the point where you are I don't have to practice anymore. I'm good enough. You continually have to challenge yourself. And that's kind of the little tangent here about the mediocre Alaskan. Like, we're all going to suck at things when you first start them. It's about pursuing things and getting better. And that's why I kind of want to raise the bar when it comes to how we talk about being mediocre, being a novice. Like, it's fine to be not very good at the beginning. It's about improving and going forward into things that you're not totally comfortable with at first, but continuing to pursue that and get better. So marksmanship is something I've really taken ownership of going forward, and so I shoot a 270 for deer and for bear. A 130 grain. It's about placement. It's about making sure that the shot is pure. You're shooting a rifle that you're comfortable with and a caliber that you're comfortable with. The first time I went out, I shot with 270, and I was amazed that because it is a little bit lighter, if you are off a little bit, then you don't have that knockdown power. And so the key with being a marksman is to be able to hit that spot, and so you do drop the bear doesn't go very far. If you use a higher caliber, of course, then you have some of that knockdown power, and so you can maybe make up for a shot that's a little bit off with just sheer blunt force trauma. But apparently tracking is something that everyone has to deal with. Well, not apparently, like, it is something that people have to deal with. And so, but with black bear, there's so much more fat involved. And so if you can get a good shot on a bear and you're tracking good blood, and the blood just starts to wane a little bit, and you had a ton of blood and there's a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, until it doesn't look like there's any blood left. And you think, well, maybe the shot wasn't as good. What I learned is that because the hair is so thick and because there's so much fat, all that kind of conspires against you. And so while at first there's a lot of blood, the blood continues, or the bleeding does continue, but it's more internal because the fat and everything kind of coagulates on the outside of the wound. So the bleeding becomes more internal. So the animal is fatally wounded. So if you give it some time, and then you're looking after it, then you can end up finding the bear. If you can't find it, if the blood trail ends, and you don't see the bear, then you just take some flagging tape, mark where the last little bit of blood was, and then just walk in ever-growing circles around that. In Southeast Alaska, it's very lush, and so there's a lot of tree roots, and it's very dense forest, and there's bushes, and there's a lot of areas where bears can hide and be not really conspicuous. And so when you are very calm and take those ever-growing circles from that last little bit of blood to see if you can find that bear, that's important to do. But also, staying calm and not freaking out, because then you just go off in one direction or you go off in another direction, assuming that the bear went that way, but maybe it didn't. So flagging it, taking a deep breath, and then walking in the circles, and then you'll find the bear, assuming there was a good shot.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
The backup, if you're going with a friend, it's always good to have a backup. I went with a good buddy of mine, and he had a 300 win, which was great. He was just getting done he had a detached retina, and he was recovering from that surgery, so he hadn't shot his rifle since then. So on our way out to the spot where he knows that there have been some really big bears taken, a bunch of 7-foot bears that have skulls of upwards of 20 inches. We're on our way out there, and he wanted to just test out his rifle since he hadn't shot it in a while. And so we're at a rock quarry, and he sets up a milk carton, and he shoots 2 holes in it from 200 yards through when you get a detached retina, they put this like bubble in there that kind of sets everything right, and the bubble essentially or eventually dissipates. So he was shooting through this bubble in his eye, on his shooting eye, and just cleanly hit this milk jug from 200 yards. I mean, this guy is unbelievable hunter and an unbelievable marksman, but he practices. He shoots a lot and he has just fun. Great hunter. But anyway, so I was out there. I had my 270 and he had his 300 win, and he said, "You shoot first." And so I did, and then the bear took a step, and it was heading down, but he shot it again anyway. So if you do want to just make sure that the bear goes down and licenses and everything are intact there, and you want to have someone else ready there to take a second shot right after you do, then that's a good idea. If you do happen to split up and you're both looking for bear, and if one of you does shoot one, then you have the chaos of, can you get another round in it? Because you don't want it to run. And the last thing you want is to walk up on a wounded bear, especially because if it's sunny out, a lot of times the bear will just be coming out right early in the morning, and then be gone before it really gets too light, or they're going to be coming out right before dark. So obviously the last thing you want to do for the spring bear is to be looking for something that's wounded. And so if your buddy is there and he's ready to put a second shot in there as a backup, or if you're good at taking that second shot just to make sure that the bear doesn't suffer, and so you can recover it better, that's a good thing to do. So we were waiting. It was end of May, and we're at this inlet, like I said, where he and his friends had taken some nice bears. He's a resident on Prince of Wales Island in that unit too. And we just waited for the sun to go down. It was a beautiful day. A couple bugs, but not too bad, just a slight little breeze. And sure enough, something emerged, and we were in the woods, and it emerged right in front of us on the other side of this little creek. And it had no idea we were there, and so I took the first shot. Like I said, it was a kill shot. He put another one in there just to make sure. Went over there, and it was a nice bear. Measured 19 3/4 as the skull, so just below that 20. But a nice bear. Got the hide off, and then took the meat. And the second thing that people are a little bit worried about getting a spring bear is that you have to salvage the meat up until June 1st. So you have to take the meat, you have to take the skull, you have to take the hide. So cooking bear, there are the fears of trichinosis, which is a parasite that you have to cook above 150 degrees. I'm almost positive it's 150 degrees. So it's not a real high temperature, but you have to make sure that you cook it well done. So it can be difficult to make a black bear taste good. Cooking venison, cooking moose, cooking caribou, you can kind of have a medium, cook to it, and it can taste really good and juicy still. But if with the black bear, because you have to cook the trichinosis out of there, sometimes you cook all the tenderness out of there, and you cook all the moisture out of there, and so it can really taste pretty bad. So different ways to cook it. The ways that I did, I ground it up, and again with the trichinosis, you want to make sure that you wash the heck out of the grinder afterwards, so you're not leaving that stuff on there. So you wash it, and they give it a little bleach treatment. Then make sure you rinse it again, so you get all that out of there. But grinding it up and then cooking it with bacon and spices, and just making sure that you have the spices so the flavor and taste is there. If you're not a big fan of gamey animals, and not that spring black bear is super gamey, because a spring black bear is going to be eating grass and vegetation, and essentially eating vegetables. And so if you get a black bear in the fall when it's been eating rotting salmon, of course it's going to taste a lot worse. But because it's an omnivore and it eats meat and vegetables, a salad essentially. If you get it when it's eating salad, then it's going to be a lot better. So it's eating that grass, and tasted fine. Had some bear burgers. You can cut it with whatever. If you want to cook it with some Italian sausage, if you want to cook it with some whatever, cook it with some fat. Just make sure it's well done. You're taking a lot of meat, or you get a lot of meat from that, and it's not about, you don't have to cook the thing as a steak itself. If you're used to beef and you're trying to cook a black bear like you're cooking a beef, it's not going to taste like that necessarily. So season it, season the heck out of it if need be. People do bear jerky, bearizo. So you're taking all the, it's just like chorizo, but it's bearizos, the Mexican sausage, breakfast sausage type thing. So you're adding spices, figuring out creative ways to use the meat. Some people really like the, if you watch the Steve Rinella Meat Eater, he loves the fall bear for the fall bear fat. And then spring, he's on Prince of Wales at his cabin he's hunting, and a lot of different ways to cook it up. So don't be afraid, don't be intimidated of cooking the black bear. When I go out this spring to get my bear, I'm really looking forward. I want to try some jerky. I've never done jerky before. But also, cutting it in strips and adding it to different genres of food that I really like. Maybe grinding some up and adding it to some Italian sausage for some meatballs, some bear and sausage meatballs. I mean, how could that not be good? You're essentially covering it in sausage, so that's going to be really good. Thin strips, season it well for some fajitas. In some Asian cuisine, different spices. So there's just a lot of ways that you can really utilize and enjoy the black bear meat, because again, it's everything that's cool and hip right now when it comes to organic, free range. I mean, there's no additives, there's no steroids, there's no anything else. So really looking forward to that. That's about it. I think black bear. I'm gonna head out next couple weeks and try to scout and try to put one down. I'll do a fall bear, and that'll be a little bit different operation because those things can be a little bit stinkier. But really excited for a spring bear season. I got my rifle all sighted in, and ready to make something happen. Get some meat in the freezer. So we'll call that episode 35, Spring Black Bear number 1. As always, make sure you go to themediocrealaskan.com to check out all things Alaska. Got some columns, got some other features and different aspects of Alaska going there. So check it out, and we'll talk to you next time.